7 Angler here. Today we're going to be tying a Schminnow, and here's what you need to tie the fly. You need some white chenille, some white marabou, some hooks. Everyone uses different hooks. You can use owner. We're using gamakatsus today. Black mono eyes, white thread, UV glue. This is from Loon, but you can use any kind of glue you want, really. And UV light. And I'm going to turn it over to my buddy Jarek, who's going to show us how to tie the fly.
What's going on, guys? My name's Jarek. Let's get after it. So first you're going to take your fly line, get a little knot going. Pretty basic flies, like one of the easier ones I've learned to tie. I like it. Catches all kinds of fish. It's really good for dock lights and stuff. And Will actually caught a freaking sheephead on it. Crazy enough, considering that sheephead do not eat bait fish like that. But you never know. All right. A few more little wraps. Start that base. Alright, so first what I do is take the marabou, and what I'm going to do is kind of cut down the middle of it, get a nice fat chunk of it, and from there I can kind of start working it together. So I take my fingers and grab it right about so, and then just kind of work my way down the spine of this feather, like that. That should be good. And then from there, slowly kind of just work it together. It's not the easiest thing. Kind of just slowly work it together. I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but
This all looks super fluffy, but in the water this flattens out and it swims really nicely.
Very true. So that should do it for the first little bit of it. Probably going to end up putting on a little bit more. We can start with this. So you're going to want it to go about 1.5 length behind, maybe 2. So you kind of see where it's at. That's probably about good right there. So I'm going to take it back, give it a little snip right above where I'm going to be attaching it to the hook. Straighten that out a little bit. Okay. Grab it again. Put it right on the fly or the hook. And start your wraps. That's that one. There we go. Working on to the hook, kind of get all those loose ends to kind of come together. It won't really matter if you got a bunch showing, because the chenille is going to be covering it. And I'd say that should be good. I'm going to put a little bit more on though, just so I have a little bit more fluff to it. So we'll do one more time of that little cut.
Yeah, like Jarek was saying before, it is a really versatile fly. I did catch a sheep's head with it. My first fish I ever caught on fly, I caught using this fly here. It was a bass. I've caught snook with this, jumped baby tarpon, ladyfish, mangrove snapper, plenty of trout. You know, you can do a whole lot of things with this fly, and it's something I think every fly fisherman should have in his box. It's pretty simple to tie, really.
Yeah, it's really not hard. This is probably one of the easier flies that you can tie.
There's just a little prep and trimming the marabou, but
as you can see, I've got a mess. Normally I don't have a mess this bad, but that's how it goes. So I got another little chunk. It's not gonna make too much of a difference, but in the water, you know, you're gonna see that it's not really as much as you'd think it would be. Kind of thins out. So that should be good. I'll wrap that on there nice. There it goes. Alright. Now, one thing that I do for most of my flies is I take my line and I bring it around the butt of this. And what that seems to do when I bring it around like that is make it to where the hook doesn't foul as much, to where this material kind of stays together and it stays off the hook. So it kind of just undid itself there. A little bit tricky to do, but it's worth it in the long run. So you kind of just come under, tie it back down, and then you reverse it and go the opposite way.
what'll happen if your hook fouls?
It just doesn't look good in the water, and it'll all of this hair will be sitting underneath your hook, and that doesn't look like
It's not gonna swim right.
Yeah, it's not going to swim right, and it doesn't look like a fish. It looks like a fly at that point. So you kind of just work it around, and one more under the back, and give it that tie again. Okay, so now we got the first part.
Now these half hitches Jarek's doing, you can do with a whip finish tool, or you can make these knots here with your hand. Either or, they work just fine. Same thing.
Okay. Now you don't have to do this, but I like to. I don't do it on all my flies, but I figured I'd do it for this video. You just put a little bit of glue on your thread. Kind of just keeps it all together and makes a nice tight, clean knot. Alright, give it some UV finish.
Remember, for those of you trying to tie at home, don't look at that light. Don't let other people look at that light. That'll really hurt your eyes, that's for sure. You'll be seeing spots for days.
I'm looking away from it right now. You can't really tell, but just kind of barely look at it. Just see where you're at. Get a bearing. It only takes about 3 to 5 seconds to dry. But I like to do a little bit more.
In fact, we know a guy who actually wears sunglasses when he does this.
Yeah, he doesn't play around. All right, so I'll kind of clean up this little bit of a mess. Just move all this shit out of here. Clean that up later. It's flying around. All right. So now we're gonna take some of this. How do you pronounce it?
Chenille.
Chenille. We're gonna take some of the chenille. I'm not gonna use all of this, but I just like to keep it in here, and it kind of just keeps it tight. So what I like to do is I'll tie a little knot first when it's not on the fly, so that when I put it on the fly, I don't have to mess with it as much. I try not to waste as much, so I'll bring this knot to the back. what I do is just slide that little loop over the fly. Tighten it down. Nice and tight. Give that a little snip. Okay. Now from here, you kind of just want to put your thumb, or not your thumb, but your finger or something like that over that top part. Just kind of hold it from twisting and turning until you get a few good loops. And what you don't want to do is overlap. You don't want it to go over and back and over and stuff. You want it to be one nice good spiral all the way around, so all of that material can kind of just stay out. You know, just kind of see it just spun right there on me. It's kind of just nice and easy. Nice little loops. It doesn't take a lot. That's all I'm going to need. So from there, leave that down. And bring a knot over that. Okay. Make a nice little snip. Now from here, you can kind of reverse what you've done for your knots, or for your line, just so you can kind of get a feel for where it's going to be sitting. And that should be about good. I'm going to slide it a little bit more towards the front of the hook. Okay, I'm gonna pull all of this stuff back, give it a few more good little loops. Okay. Give a little trim. Some of this stuff that's in the way of your hole for your leader. You can do that at the end, but I just kind of like to do it before I put the eyes on. And then you're gonna take your mono eyes. You're gonna take one of those out. I'm going to tie a half hitch here real quick. If that's what you call it. Just kind of hold all that down nice and tight. And from there, take your dumbbell eyes or whatever, these little plastic mono eyes. If you want to get the angle from there. And kind of just
tying the eyes on this fly may actually be the most challenging part of the whole
it 100% is.
whole ordeal.
I need to tighten this up a little bit.
You want to make sure they're on there straight. And this is similar to tying eyes in a Clouser minnow. You're going to be making figure eight, wraps and X wraps, things like that to secure your eyes. You really want to make sure they're on there straight.
There we go. Looking good. All right, I'm gonna pull it around, get it exactly kind of straight on there, even. They look pretty good on there. Right behind the eye. Let's see how that looks. You can adjust these too. It's not impossible once they're set to kind of just move them around a little bit. And that's it. Now what I like to do is, as the last little touch, just put a little bit more of that glue over those eyes. For that final touch, just kind of seal the deal. Secures all of your knots, kind of keeps the line to the hook, makes for a good, hard, strong finish. It's so hard not to look in that light, it's like a freaking fly trap. Give one last check over. Kind of straighten it up the way you want it to be. That looks good.
That is a Schminnow right there.
Schminnow. All right, guys. Catch you later.